Good afternoon, friends, and welcome. It's around 5:15, 5:20 p.m. on the East Coast. The jury has had a half a day of deliberation in the Lindsay Clancy murder trial. I got to tell you, I was so disappointed that AP News knocked me off the air. I then went and tried to get back on with Law and Crime, and I got knocked off the air there too. I understand my good friend Melanie Little went through that as well today. It is what it is. What are you going to do? There's nothing you could do about it. The case is in the hands of the jury. They are now deliberating a half a day, and I want to get everyone's thoughts. What are your thoughts? How did the prosecution do? How did the defense do? I thought Kevin Reddington did a great job, and Jennifer Sprague also surprised me. I didn't expect to hear the presentation that she gave was calm, clear, and concise. So I wanted to get everyone's thoughts, but um, it is what it is, Gutierrez. It is what it is. I have no control of it. Becky, good to see you. Hi, Lexi. Hey, good to see everybody. Thanks for joining Under Your Scars. And Janice Canfield. Great, great, great to see everybody. Um, so again, I have no control over it. Let's go to our good friend Brian Enton of News Nation. He was in the courtroom for most of this trial, and let's hear what he has to say because I value Brian's opinions and thoughts. And we're going to listen to also an interview with Alan Jackson. Remember Alan Jackson from the Karen Reed trial? Very strong defense attorney from California. He was on Billy Bush Hot Mics. I want you guys to hear what he had to say because I value the opinions of attorneys because they know better than anybody. Criminal defense attorneys, they do this for a living. So let's take a listen to this.
Brian, we really saw a dramatic closing by the defense team here.
Yeah, so this is the final step we're seeing here before they'll start deliberations where they choose the alternate jurors. Essentially, several of them will be dismissed. They were just there in case, someone got sick or if someone had to leave throughout the trial, which didn't happen. And then deliberations will officially start, which I think is probably what the judge is going to say right about now, which it's now roughly 12:30. So we'll see how long all of this is going to take after really a dramatic morning, Nicole, of closing arguments from both the defense and the state. The defense started first, which was interesting. That doesn't happen in most states, but Massachusetts is different. Defense essentially saying that Lindsay Clancy was in a psychosis, that she was not in her right mind at the time of the murders, that they were not premeditated, that they were not planned, that she did not purposely do it when her husband Patrick went out to the CVS and went out to get food, and that essentially she should be found not guilty. Then the prosecution had their turn. Prosecution went much longer than the defense, laying out all of the reasons that they believe that this was planned and.
It's funny because the judge said that the prosecution and the defense would get 1 hour each. But as Brian Enton indicated here, the prosecution, the Commonwealth, they were able to talk for substantially longer. Now, I don't know if Kevin Reddington just didn't require additional time to hammer home his point, but I thought it was interesting that the Commonwealth got more than that 1 hour allocation, which to me just didn't seem fair. But it is what it is, right?
Premeditated, that she was a good mother, but that they said she still had mental illness, but that doesn't excuse the fact that she killed her 3 kids and that there was planning involved, that she purposely did it. She sent her husband away to go run those errands. She timed it out, and they went into really just gruesome detail about how long it took for each child to die and why she methodically killed each child the way that she did using the exercise bands. I want to play you, though, going back to the defense again. They were the ones to start. With Kevin Reddington, the defense attorney, there was this dramatic moment throughout the close where he would use a quarter and slam it down on the table to make points when he said that he was trying to disprove several of the prosecution theories. Take a look at this.
Think about this beautiful young girl throwing herself out a window. That's a quarter. I don't know if you ever played pool. I challenge you to tell this jury why we spent a week showing that she committed as your witness.
Counsel, address the jury, please.
So that was the example of him throwing a coin down on the table, and the judge kind of said, counsel, please just address the jury.
Why we spent a week showing that she committed,
Counsel,
as
counsel,
your witness.
Counsel, address the jury, please.
So that was kind of a dramatic moment there, Nicole, where Kevin Reddington was getting very, very passionate. The prosecution really laying out, that that Lindsay Clancy had the resources, that she could have gotten more help if she wanted to, that she wasn't just this lonely mom with no help, that she had a nanny, that the kids went to preschool, that she even had someone helping with meal prep, and that she could have found the resources she needed instead of ultimately killing her own kids. Listen to this.
Between September and December of 2022, she's interacting with friends, with family, teachers, gym staff, the nanny, people at gymnastics, interacting with them in public spaces, in public ways, driving her kids around, all throughout that time, able to know the difference between right and wrong, able to conform her behavior to the law and to the requirements of society, and interacting with others and presenting herself as a functioning adult, a functioning mom.
So by all indications, Nicole, this is going to be a difficult deliberation. This is a trial that has gone on for weeks and weeks, and now it is about to go out to the jury. How long will this take? We don't know at this point. Could they have a decision quickly? Could it come soon today? Possible. Could it come tomorrow? Could it come next week? We just don't know. The charges, though, I want to point out that they are considering first-degree murder, second-degree murder, manslaughter, which is something that was just added in last night by the judge, which is an interesting twist. So that's something that they could choose, or which the defense would obviously prefer, not guilty by reason of lack of criminal responsibility. And
So there you have it up on the screen, ladies and gentlemen. 3 counts of first-degree murder, 1 for each of her children that she admitted to murdering. 3 counts of strangulation or suffocation, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, and the manslaughter charge. Some would argue if the prosecution, if the Commonwealth got a guilty verdict, even just on manslaughter, that it would be a win for them. I listened a little bit to Billy Bush's interview with attorney Alan Jackson. And Alan Jackson's take, I value it tremendously because he's such a great defense attorney. He seems to think that the Commonwealth did not prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Let me know what you think in the comment section here in the live chat and also in the replay. I'd be curious to know what you guys think transpired during this 21-day trial for Lindsay Clancy.
Or which the defense would obviously prefer, not guilty by reason of lack of criminal responsibility. And remember, Nicole, and the judge explained this, and it's confusing, but here in Massachusetts, in the way that this trial is set up, the prosecution has the burden of proof. The prosecution had to prove that Lindsay Clancy was not in a psychosis mental state and out of her mind at the time that she killed her children. So that is what the jury has to consider here, Nicole.
Yeah, so much to consider.
So quickly, has anybody heard that interview with Billy Bush and Alan Jackson, attorney Alan Jackson? We all know him from the Karen Reed trial, but I think that, people like that who has, very extensive experience, especially dealing with the Commonwealth. I think it's a pretty good take. I mean, you want to listen to it. We'll listen to a little bit of it. Put a 1 in the chat if you want to hear it, or put a 2 if you'd rather not hear it. I thought it was very enlightening to hear Alan Jackson openly talk about this case with Billy Bush. It was really good, but it was 52 minutes, so I'm not going to play it all, but I definitely would like to play a little bit of it. I also want to listen to NBC 10 because they've been following it pretty closely. So right after I play this NBC 10 clip, we'll go straight to, I'm not going to play it all.
Lindsay Clancy.
I'm not going to play it all. It's 28 minutes long, but they do extensive coverage on this trial as well. and I think it would be good to hear. Let's take a listen to their take.
Fell through the cracks here somehow. And if it could happen to a family like this, what's going to happen to the rest of us when we have to rely on that? And that, I think, is why, besides the horrific, tragic killing of these children, this has become more of a story than just about a crime or just about.
For the challenge of presenting closing arguments in what has been a very difficult, long case, let's assess the performances, starting with the defense attorney, Kevin Reddington, who spoke for about 51 minutes. What were your thoughts?
My thoughts, like yours, is both presentations were very professional, very high level. I do think Attorney Reddington's was a little more tugging at the emotional heartstrings of the jury, emphasizing the evidence, of course, as well, but really focusing in on the problems with respect to the prosecution's case and how they did his client poorly in both the investigation, the treatment by the medical profession, and that was very clear. He pointed his finger clearly at the failures of the medical profession to assist his client. So I think for the jury, I'm sure they were kept wrapped with attention, and I thought he did a terrific job conveying the message that we've seen him display throughout the case with respect to his client's position and ultimately her being not guilty because of the mental disease or defect.
Is that Kevin Reddington's traditional style to be that theatrical? Because there was a lot of animation, as you said, pointing at the prosecutors, blaming them straight out, comparing it's Lindsay Clancy against the government, you know, and the quarters onto the table. There was a lot of performance there.
There was, but I actually, in watching it, I also believed that this is one he feels incredibly deeply about, and I do know that. And I also...
we all know how deeply Kevin Reddington is invested in this, in his client. He said on national television in an interview last night outside of court that he loves Lindsay Clancy. He loves his client. And he really went to bat speaking about her character and so forth. All right, let's go to Hot Mics with Billy Bush and Alan Jackson.
I don't believe that
This is a great interview, by the way. I'll link it in the description. If you haven't seen it yet, go over and watch it. But here it is from the beginning.
I think you know Kevin a bit.
Do
you know Jennifer, and are you at all familiar with this judge?
I'm not familiar with the judge, and I don't know either of the prosecutors. I do know Kevin, a very, very talented lawyer, very, very good lawyer. He's iconic in that area, in the New England area. He's been around for a long time. He's tried some huge cases. He's known to be big and brash and bombastic and extremely intelligent and very, very good in front of a jury. Look, no doubt about it on both sides. It's an extremely emotional case. It is a very, very tough job that the jurors have to deal with, because they're dealing with an issue that most of us have read about sometime. Maybe you've seen a movie about it. Maybe you've read a crime story about it. But most people aren't confronted with this kind of emotion. A mother killing her children and then trying to kill herself. It's a very tough case. I thought Kevin did a masterful job of setting the tone of manipulation. That was his theme. What you heard from the prosecution was a manipulation of the facts, a manipulation of the law, a manipulation of how the witnesses testified, how they took and spun and twisted certain evidence to their benefit in order to make Lindsay look guilty. The reality,
premeditation. They talked about not only was she premeditated, but she was like I called it psychotic the other way, like psychotically detailed and premeditated. You know, which I think that's a did they need to go for that big of a bomb right there?
Probably not. I know they feel like they are swimming against the tide. The prosecutors do. They should. If they don't know that, they should know that they're swimming against the tide, because people don't do this. Like the natural instinct of someone listening to this is, if mom kills there's 3 toddlers, there's 3 little ones, she's got to be crazy. She's got to be psychotic because no normal.
That was Pauline Buckles. She's our good friend in their live chat. Good to see you, Pauline.
Normal person would do that. And that is absolutely true. I mean, one of the things that struck me about the prosecution's opening salvos was being an apologist for an extraordinarily broken medical psychological system or psychiatric system. It's like the medical.
Yeah, it's over for today. The jury has the case and they're deliberating. I'm not quite sure how late they're going to stay tonight. If they were sent home, it's 5:30 p.m. I didn't hear any word whether they were dismissed and sent home for the day. But they will deliberate as much as they have to, or as much as they want to, actually. And they could stay there till 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night if they want, or they could go home and get a fresh start tomorrow morning. But we'll see. Under Your Scars says they're home now. I didn't have confirmation of it, but this is attorney Alan Jackson on Hot Mics with Billy Bush, giving his take after the closing arguments. So I value this guy's opinion. I value his knowledge, his expertise as it pertains to dealing with the Commonwealth. We all know that he has a history dealing with the Commonwealth, and he did it successfully representing Karen Reed in her charges presented and brought forth 2 times by the Commonwealth.
Industrial complex completely let Lindsay Clancy down. How many more times does she need to beg for help and not get it? How many more times does she need to say to doctor after doctor after doctor, primary care physician after primary care physician, I need help. I don't feel right. Something's not right here. I need help. I'm seeking and I'm searching for help. And their response, by and large, oftentimes was, well, are you psychotic? And if she said, no, I don't think I'm psychotic. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. They go, oh, okay. Well, then here's a pill. Go, call me in 6 weeks and let me know how you're feeling. That's not the kind of help that she was seeking or that she needed. So
listen, I just want to say this. With Ed and myself and this channel, we listen to both sides. We listen to people who are pro-defense and pro-prosecution. So we want to give a fair shake here, and we want everyone to hear opinions from both sides. If you do not agree, there's no reason to say, oh, this guy sucks, or this. It's just, you don't agree, let's be adults and just be like, okay, I'm going to tune out and I'll come back another day. Let's look at this with an open mind.
For the prosecution to say, well, their first shot across the bow was the defense wants to just blame it on this medical industrial complex, and that's not on trial here. Yes, it is on trial here. And if you think it's not, then you're missing something about the zeitgeist of this issue, the communal discussion about this issue. Yes, the medical industrial complex, psychiatry, psychology, the help that people desperately need from a mental health standpoint, that is on trial here. And I think Kevin did an outstanding job of putting that on trial here.
What about all the exhibits in there? I mean, Alan, I went through, I want to talk more about Reddington in detail, but the exhibits all over the floor. He's got poster board everywhere. He's got this bedside drawer. He's got bags of pills. I mean, these are all very effective things. He brought quarters out on the table. To Jennifer Sprague's credit, she was removing the quarters one at a time as she made her point. This is a woman with very little personality, but at this moment, that was a spontaneous, because some of this stuff is performative. And then I read the jury who's on there. Can you believe this? I wonder what you would do. Like from my person inside the court, 4 college-age kids, 1 young pregnant woman, an older woman who's pissed off but clutching her cross, and we heard mortal sin. We heard the Catholic faith and weaponized against Lindsay. I mean, when you're doing your closing, and are you thinking about, oh God, these points belong to this group of people. This point belongs to that person.
Good question.
100%. Yeah. By the time you get to a closing argument, you've done. Look, as a trial lawyer, I feel very strongly that you shouldn't just sit there and stare at the jurors. It's very uncomfortable for them. It's invading their space. It's invading their province. But peripherally and just through almost osmosis, you learn who your jurors are as a trial lawyer over the course of hours and days and weeks, in some cases, months in other cases. The last case I had out on the East Coast was months long, and I knew the jurors. I thought I knew the jurors very, very well. So to your point, yes, if I'm making a point about morality, and there's someone that I've seen every single day walk in with a cross, and dressed a certain way, and maybe carries him or herself with a certain countenance, and I feel like there's a religiosity or a moral fiber or fabric that is built around this person. Yeah, I'm going to direct certain comments to that person. If someone's leaning back and crossing their arms, and I've seen them roll their eyes during certain witnesses or things of that nature, and I'm making a point about that witness or the credibility of those witnesses, I will direct my comments directly. I will make eye contact and lock eyes with that witness for that very specific purpose. I might even say something in closing argument. Some of you might not have appreciated certain testimony that came in, but here's the reason why that testimony is credible and why it follows follows our theory. And if you're following the law and following the facts, this needs to be believed. I'll make those points. I'm assuming that Kevin, very, very, very polished, and when I say polished, I mean very experienced, very different styles that he and I have, but he's a very experienced trial lawyer, and I'm sure he was directing certain comments to certain jurors to emphasize certain points, because he knows once you take the bit out of the horse's mouth, right, and you unbridle that horse, that jury goes back. You realize there's a loss of control. That jury goes back into a deliberation room, and you've lost all control. You have one last chance to make a point and to try to get a jury or a juror to make your points back in the deliberation room. So I'm sure Kevin was doing that in a very, very effective way.
So, folks, I'm listening to this interview because I want to learn from the mindset of a really polished criminal defense attorney, and that being Alan Jackson. I'm not playing this video for you guys to say, oh, he's right, he's wrong. Let's absorb this information. This is, for me, this is not my area of expertise. I'm not a defense attorney. I'm not an attorney. I'm a retired detective who has gone out there and arrested many people and brought people to justice and taken evil off the street. I responded to the World Trade Center. I've made hundreds, arguably thousands of arrests over the course of my time in 20 years on the NYPD. When I look to experts like this to get their opinion, and that's why I'm playing this video. I'm not going to play it in its entirety, but I want to get Alan Jackson's take on it. Does he feel the prosecution proved beyond a reasonable doubt? And he's going to get to that here. So let's take a listen.
I thought also Jennifer Sprague was better than I thought she'd be. I mean, I thought she was coming out with all kinds of notes.
She was good. No, she was good. She was very prepared. Yeah, she was good.
Very prepared.
And I will say you said this is performative to a certain degree. The courtroom there is a certain amount of theater to a courtroom, every single courtroom. If you're going to do something like theatrical, like set quarters out on the table, you better have your ducks in a row such that someone can't use that against you and pull those quarters off and make their point by using your theater against you. I've done this before where I've walked up to a whiteboard and leave an empty whiteboard and have a big, bold red or black marker and set a marker down right in front of my opponent to say, there's a couple of questions that they can't answer. And if they don't answer it, then that tells you everything you need to know about their case. And I'll set the marker right in front of them. They don't even have to use their paper. They don't have to use their marker. I'll give them the marker and set it down. But when I've done that, I know they can't answer that question, and they'll set it aside.
Reddington should have taken his quarters to quarters with him. But one thing he's definitely more of a personality. He connected with the,
for sure,
with the jury.
And that's the style. And there's I think it's very thought out by him. He's going to have all these exhibits. He's not worried about the hyper polish of having something, with square corners. He's going to set a bag of evidence over here, and he's going to grab something off the floor there, and he's going to walk up to the jury and walk back. He's developing a chemistry with that jury as best he can. So he's not just robotically just repeating lines. He's going to try to develop
I think Alan's 100% on as it pertains to Reddington. He developed a chemistry with that jury. He connected with that jury, not just in the closing arguments. In his closing argument, he did it throughout the whole course of the trial. And that's a fact. He definitely did do that. So I want to make a point here. This comment here, okay, about the gabapentin. I was on it for a whole year. I didn't like the way I felt on it. It was for my cancer and inflammation. Sloan Kettering Cancer Center prescribed it. I begged and pleaded with them to wean me off of it. And then this last year has been hell on gabapentin for me. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't think clearly. And one of the big, in bold lettering on the side effects, may cause suicidal thoughts and depression and anxiety. So gabapentin is really evil, and that's just one of the drugs, one of the many that are out there.
As much chemistry as he can. That's his style. He's very good at it.
What do you think of? I thought his connection also, not just with the jury, very strong, and with the audience. Clearly, people out in social media land love the guy, but he seems to know the judge. I feel like they've like they used to play like softball together or something. I mean, I'm making that up, but I feel like the judge sort of takes his cues from Big Red. He's kind of like, the judge will be like, we're going to take a recess here, right? Should we take a recess, Kev? And like he's looking at Reddington and Reddington.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a real
Yeah,
connection
look,
between
they're
them.
definitely colleagues. They're of the same generation.
They know each other.
I don't know that they know each other. I have no idea, but I would certainly. If Kevin's been around forever, the judge has been around forever. It's almost impossible. And that one thing about the Boston area, the greater Boston area, everybody knows everybody. I mean, it's just unfathomable to me how everybody can know everybody. You walk into a restaurant. Even I got to the point where I would rarely go out to a restaurant or something that I didn't see somebody that I even knew, and I've only been there a couple of years. So yeah, I'm sure they are professional colleagues and have an enormous amount of respect for one another.
What are the possible options here? We don't know the jurors. I read a little bit about them, but we've heard the closing. We've on both sides. If you had to call it.
Oh, I don't think that 12 people are going to find Lindsay Clancy guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. If I had to handicap.
So that's the part of this interview that I was waiting for. So Billy Bush asked Alan Jackson, what do you think the jury is going to come back with? And here's his answer.
And I've only been there a couple of years. So yeah, I'm sure they are professional colleagues and have an enormous amount of respect for one another.
What are the possible options here? We don't know the jurors. I read a little bit about them, but we've heard the closing. We've on both sides. If you had to call it.
Oh, I don't think that 12 people are going to find Lindsay Clancy guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. If I had to handicap this, I don't see it happening. I don't think that the evidence is there for the prosecution. They did, as you indicated, the prosecutor did a yeoman's job. She did a very workmanlike job of presenting her closing argument, saving the most emotional portion of it for very, very, very last. The part where she described the ligatures around the children's necks, et cetera, et cetera. But she also basically was spending most of her time excusing away the rampant failures of the medical industry. How the medical
she was blaming Lindsay for the drugs. In fact, she was like, "Oh, right. I mean, I think I wrote
as if she's supposed to, as if she's supposed to know what she's taking, what she's not taking. She's also not supposed to be just based on self-reporting. You can't prescribe medication, and you can't engage in robust and thorough medical care when it comes to mental health issues. Like she said, you can't see a mental health issue. It's not like a cut that you can suture. You have to dig in deep. And just allowing Lindsay to sort of self-report and then turning around and blaming Lindsay when she says, no, I wasn't being completely honest about this, or I omitted that, or I didn't want Patrick to even know that I was on Prozac back in the day. All of those things are indicative of someone who is sliding down the scale of mental health disease, of being in the clutches of a serious mental health devolvement, an issue that is devolving daily, weekly, yearly, to the point that it got to the point that she was hearing things, feeling things that she could no longer control. And to that point, the prosecution made this big deal of talking about the voices or the voice, that, well, the voice said different things and the voice said this and the voice said that, almost as if there's a speaker on your shoulder and you turn the volume up and down and the voice is speaking into your ear. That's not how internal mechanisms work when you quote unquote hear voices. That's not what is meant by that. You don't necessarily hear a specific voice with a tone and a tenor talking to you. It's a thought. It's something that's happening inside your head. It's a thought. It's a feeling. It's overwhelming you if you are in the clutches of a psychotic episode or suffering from psychosis. But it's not like, okay, well, the voice on day one said, kill your kids and then kill yourself. And on day two, the voice said, you need to kill yourself, but you need to kill your kids first. It doesn't work. You can't attack that by saying, well, the voice said two different things, so you can't believe that there was ever a voice in the first place. It is an overwhelming thought. It's a feeling. It's a sense that you get, and there's no speaker in your head that's turned on with a male voice or a female voice necessarily, or a child's voice.
Hey, I just want to go quickly to the chat here. Place a 1 if you feel that the jury will come back with a guilty verdict. Press a 2 if it's not guilty by reason of insanity. Press 3 if it's a hung jury, you think it's a hung jury. And 4 if she'll be convicted on the lesser charge of manslaughter. So there's 4 choices. Manslaughter is the 4th. Number 3 would be not guilty by reason of insanity. Yeah, so there's a lot of number 2s and number 3s. I see, and I didn't see a number 4 yet. Okay, that lesser charge is also included in there. So 3 and 4, I see 1. A lot of number 2s. I haven't seen number 1 yet. Oh, wait, there is a number 1 right there. The 2s outweigh everything. The not guilty number 2 is taking precedence here. So yeah, if you're watching on the replay, your chance to get your voice heard, and we shall see what happens, hopefully in the near future. I'm hoping tomorrow we get a verdict, but you never know with juries. You never know what they're going to do.
Or an adult's voice. It's a feeling and a thought, and we lack as human beings the ability to put a word to that. So what we end up doing is calling it a voice. It's a voice that told me to do something. It's an overwhelming impulse that comes from a psychotic episode or psychosis that you're in the clutches of. And that impulse cannot be controlled because it is a mental illness. And you cannot, under the law, you cannot be held responsible for your conduct if you are operating under the influence of a mental health disease that is controlling you rather than you controlling it.
Well, you said it's going to be hard for 12 people. The idea that 12 people are going to come together and think that she premeditatedly did this. She knew what she was doing.
I don't think they will. I don't think they will.
Will 12 people come together?
Who can hang it and say, yeah, I think she's guilty because the children, it's just too emotional for me. I can't vote that she's not responsible. She's not criminally liable. Maybe there's a juror who will say that. I don't think that there's 12 who are going to say that.
Is there 12 the other way?
Yeah, I think there are. I think there's a good chance that that Lindsay Clancy will be determined to not be to lack the mental the mens rea to have premeditated the death of those children.
A pretty powerful statement by attorney Alan Jackson. He feels that there'll be 12 jurors that will come back with a not guilty verdict. Now these are guesses, but this is an educated opinion from someone with a lot of experience, especially dealing with the Commonwealth. He dealt with 2 trials for Karen Reed.
Okay. God, it's just
we'll see. I don't know, and I don't know how quick the verdict's going to be either. It's an emotional case. It's a big case. These jurors tend to take every case very seriously. They will absolutely take this case very, very, very seriously. I expect that they'll go through a lot of the evidence. They'll probably ask for readback here or there from this expert or that expert. It was very expert driven, the entire trial. So my sense is it's not going to be a super quick verdict. But my gut reaction, if I had to handicap this, is the prosecution has not met their burden, not even close. It's even
Wow.
There's
even
your
if the jurors
thumbnail,
think to
Harry.
themselves, what's that?
I said, I'm speaking like inside baseball. I said, there's your thumbnail, Harry. Talking to Harry, my producer, I said, Alan Jackson makes the call. Prosecution has not met, in your opinion, it's just an opinion, but has not met the burden. It's a big burden. It's a big burden in this case. You know, I was talking to Dr. Drew yesterday, and I was just like, my feeling is she's in jail. I mean, if this jury sits there and goes, absolutely, we're all better off if we send Lindsay Clancy to jail for first-degree murder. We're all better. I got a feeling, you know, what they're seeing is a massive breakdown in the psychiatric field, in the medical field, and in our whole system, and our lack of primary care, and just the confusion and the prescriptions and all this crap. It's scary because they're all thinking, geez, that could be my kid. That could be me. Like, and nobody knows, you know, their ass from their face on this thing. So what's really on trial to me is the system, is the medical, you know, complex
The
here.
medical complex, exactly. That's exactly
That's
right.
on trial. So
It
if
has
you
to be
just
on
send
trial.
her to jail, you're punting on that type of a referendum.
And it's happened too often. The justice system is very poorly equipped to handle mental health issues. It just is. There's just no two ways about it. I've been in the justice system for over 30 years, and it's just a very, very, it's a very foreign thing to the justice system. The justice system looks at conduct. You either did something and that's against the law, or you didn't do something and that's against the law. That is binary. This kind of case tests the justice system and stretches it to its breaking point, because you cannot say, look, Kevin Reddington took a position very early on by pleading the case this way, conceding that she killed those 3 kids. But that is only the beginning of the inquiry. That is not the end of the inquiry. The prosecution sees this like to a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Well, okay, well, she killed the kids, so she's got to go to jail. That is not the end of the inquiry. Like you said, Billy, very articulately, the system, the medical industrial complex is on trial because how much more, based on the evidence that I heard, how much more was Lindsay expected to do to cry out for help? It wasn't just to cry out for help, like to her husband or to her best friend or in a journal. She went to the medical professionals and she said, I need to check myself in. No, turned away. I need to come in. I cannot be trusted with myself. No, go away. And then this happens, this tragedy happens. And the prosecution comes back and says, well, last time I checked, she killed the kids. But that's not the real inquiry. The inquiry is, did she understand the character and quality of her conduct in the moment that she took those kids' lives? And I don't believe that
I don't think the prosecution
has proved it.
No, I don't. They had a hard time even broaching it.
Right.
It seems.
I want to say this, Karen. I don't think anybody is in a position that's outside of the realm of the mental health field. I don't think any of us are capable of saying that Lindsay Clancy is a danger to society. None of us know her. None of us know how badly she's afflicted at this current day and age. We're just hearing how she is and how her medications are controlled right now and so forth. But I think the only people that will make that determination, as per the judge, he said the court will make a determination if she's found not guilty by reason of insanity when she gets out, or if she gets out. It'll be determined with a combination of mental health providers inside prison. She'll be in a hospital ward in a prison. She will be in a mental health prison. She's not going to be in just some cushy little hospital. She's going to be in a hospital ward where there's all people who are suffering afflictions similar or different various type of afflictions. So I don't think it's fair for any of us to say that she is not a danger to society, because none of us know her. I think we don't know the totality of what her condition is at this time. But we do know that she strangled all 3 of her little babies. She strangled her 5-year-old, her 3-year-old, and her 8-month-old. And that, to me, as a detective, that to me is someone who brought evil to justice. That says to me, she is damn sure a danger to society. She needs to never be around children again. I mean, would you trust her with your grandkids? Would you trust her to babysit or be around kids? I don't think any of us could say confidently yes to that. I know I wouldn't. Let me know what your thoughts are.
We're looking at a picture of Reddington here as the, I'll put it up there, but he looks like he's taking a nap. No, he's back. He might be, I don't know what's going on with Big Red right there, but the judge is still kind of giving his take.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of fascinating. But anyway, I don't think anyone knows this, or they do, but not enough people know. Wasn't Reddington involved in the Karen Reed trial? Didn't he?
Yeah. We're not necessarily adverse to each other, other than he represented a witness in the Karen Reed trial. Jennifer McCabe. Yeah.
He represented McCabe. So what happened, as soon as this thing broke down, she called him, and the battle with for him was over McCabe's phone.
There was subpoenas and things of that nature. Right.
Yeah. You had to subpoena him. So, I can't imagine that he was passionately involved, but again, in Boston, everybody knows everybody. So Jennifer McCabe calls him. He had to protect the phone, which of course had the Haas long to die in cold. Boy, Reddington's been all over the town.
To me, and very nice when I've seen him.
And the family and seeing that beautiful Bill Reed, father of Karen, geez.
Looking over my shoulder. Oh,
she's shaking a box.
Christ almighty. This is she's picking the alternates. 5 alternate position that they're taking.
Listen, they're all welcome here to come and finish the job right here with me.
Yeah. So right now there are a number of jurors who are sitting here going, "Oh my God, are you kidding me? I've sat through this whole thing, and now I don't get to deliberate."
It's unbelievable. So I don't know, who knows what Billy Sullivan is doing. I do love the name Billy Sullivan. It's a real Boston guy.
How important is that to the it's emotional watch? Please, may I mean, listen, we know.
Just don't fanboy too much, Harry. I've got you, it reflects on me.
Alan, Reddington hit an emotional nerve. It was clear. I mean, I was emotional watching it. How important is that connection? I mean, clearly the prosecution had zero. Reddington was pulling on everyone's heartstrings.
Yeah.
How important is that to the process?
You cannot overstate the importance of drawing the jury into the story, right? It's not, you're not just talking about numbers on a page. It's not just the antiseptic determination of what a jury instruction sounds like and applying this fact to this law. It is a story. And if you miss that opportunity in closing argument to humanize your client, to accept, look, Kevin accepted responsibility for Lindsay on her behalf. He said, "We didn't run from it. We didn't hide from it. We know what happened. We know how devastating and how tragic it was, but she was not herself. It was not her that was doing this. And it was necessary for him to draw the jurors into that sort of discussion and that sort of theme and theory and thought process. He could not leave that jury with the idea that this young woman, as he called her over and over and over, I don't know if you noticed, they use this phrase in Boston a lot, and it's not pejorative at all. It's endearing to a great degree. He called her kid many times. That's a phrase that I never used growing up, and certainly as an older guy, I don't use that phrase with others. It's not part of my lexicon, but it's very much part of the fabric of the Boston area. And he called her kid over and over. That was by design. He's humanizing her. She's just a kid. She was doing the best she could. She had these 3 little kids. She was struggling. She was struggling with depression. She was struggling, being overwhelmed. She had these mental health issues. She had these demons that she could not exercise by herself. This kid who sits now in a wheelchair, and she will be in that prison for the rest of her life, the prison of her mind, the prison of her heart, the prison of that wheelchair, a daily reminder that she will never get over, not one day, not 1 minute, not 1 second of the rest of her life. She knows what happened. She knows the loss and the devastation, but she wasn't in her right mind when she did it. And we do not, as a society, as a civilized society, we do not criminalize illness. And this young lady, this kid, she was ill. So that's the kind of emotion that he was able to draw out, and I think was extremely necessary.
We have friends at home, 60-year-old guys. I call and say hello. The response is, "How you doing, kid?"
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
sick.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a term of endearment, and he needed to do that with her. Of course, conversely, the prosecution needed to try to do that with the children, which is what she did at the very end when she talks about the devastation of, wrapping ligatures, these workout bands around the necks of these children, and talking about how long it takes for that tragic thing to happen. I sort of expected that she would have a stopwatch. If I were trying to make that point from an emphasis standpoint and an emotional standpoint, I might have taken a watch and one old fashioned and clicked it where you can hear the tick, 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 and waited for 30 seconds.
Here's an answer to Lady Jane C's question.
Oh, hell no.
And ask the jurors to think about how long 30 seconds really is. That's pretty devastating as well. And it's incumbent upon the prosecution to try to wrestle back that emotion from the defense and the empathy that the jurors tend to feel for the defendant, and put the empathy back on the kids. It's a fight back and forth.
Jeez. Is Karen Reed been, she must have, she's such, with one provider and one plan, and it's just,
Bottom line, and cares about the money and cares about the insurance and, all the things that you could put them on trial for. They left her out in the cold. And this is what happens when you refuse someone who's reaching out for help, who's begging for the very help that she was entitled to. This is the result. This is the tragedy that occurs. And we don't criminalize that. It's tragic, but let's fix the problem. The problem is not putting her in prison for the rest of her life. The problem is she didn't get the help she needed.
Someone asked.
But in addition to that, and I have a lot of respect for Alan Jackson, in addition to that, you have to add in that she murdered her 3 children. No matter how you look at this, whatever angle you want to look at this, the reality is she put a ligature around her children's neck, each one of them, one by one, and murdered them. You can't forget that. And no psychosis, no mental health. You can't say that, look, we just have to look past that. We just got to let that go. And that's the part that I get hung up on as a law enforcer. Now, I know it's the job of the attorneys and the courts to decide this and to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the Commonwealth. But that's the problem I have. That's what I can't look past, because I've seen in my profession, I've responded to locations where parents have killed their kids. Ed talks about it. I talk about it. It's something that you'll never, ever forget. Seeing an infant baby in a crib dead at the hands of the mother or father. I've seen both. It's not pretty. It's not something that you could just recover from. It's a lifelong trauma.
Should this have ever come to trial?
Of what's happening in her head. We talked about the fact you can't see mental illness. You can see it on that page. And that's what he did, is he drew it off the page, pulled it off the page, and said, look at what she's saying. This is her begging. She's begging and begging and begging. And this medical industrial complex who does not care about her and cares about the bottom line and cares about the money and cares about the insurance and, all the things that you could put them on trial for. They left her out in the cold. And this is what happens when you refuse someone who's reaching out for help, who's begging for the very help that she was entitled to. This is the result. This is the tragedy that occurs. And we don't criminalize that. It's tragic, but let's fix the problem. The problem is not putting her in prison for the rest of her life. The problem is she didn't get the help she needed.
Someone asked, should this have ever come to trial?
I mean, that's a $1 million question. I don't believe that there's a circumstance in which a case like this doesn't come to trial. I mean, like I said,
it has to come to trial. The police respond to a person in the snow that injured herself, right? They find 3 dead children in the basement. That's 3 murders, 3 homicides. It has to go to the courts. There's no way it doesn't.
Justice system.
I just don't think it's fair to single-handedly point. They are one of the contributing factors, the healthcare industry. There's no doubt she and many other people were failed by the healthcare industry. The healthcare industry sucks, but we can't wholeheartedly put blame on them for what she did. And that's part of the part that I get stuck on.
System, it has to do its job, right? It has to do its job.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't think that someone would just throw their hands up and say, we've got 3 deceased little kids and a mother who tried to kill herself. Nah, we're not even gonna worry about it.
Also, if it doesn't come to trial, there is no referendum. There is no this. We're not talking about this, and we got to be talking about this.
Sometimes cases need to be tried. This case needed to be tried. It needed to, like, to use your word, there needs to be a referendum, a discussion, a robust and thorough discussion about this situation. And this trial was the perfect platform to launch that discussion. But do I believe that she is legally responsible for the death of those children? I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Here's a question from Nicole. Having seen how Massachusetts juries handle forensic psych battles, how well do you think the defense neutralized professionals' claim that she was still capable of rational, goal-directed behavior?
I think that that's a really good question, very articulate question. I think Kevin did a really, really nice job of dismantling the prosecution experts, and he didn't have to just beat up on them from a theatrical standpoint. He used his experts. Resnick, I think, was the lead expert on his team. He used his experts, who trained a lot of the other people's experts, to say that this is a classic example of postpartum psychosis, not just postpartum depression, but postpartum psychosis, where you go into a psychotic state and you lose the ability to understand the character and quality of your conduct. And people misunderstand that quite a bit. And I think Kevin did a good job, along with his experts, of explaining it doesn't, she grabbed a band and she wrapped it around their necks and pulled it tight. So she had to know what she was doing and knew she had enough consciousness to know that she wanted to do it while she was alone, when Patrick wasn't in the house. She used a band to do it, which is a perfect ligature. When you're going through a psychotic episode, it doesn't mean you lose the ability to understand the world around you, right? I still know that this is a phone. I know that this is a microphone. I still know how to drive a car. I can still put my shoes on, right foot right, left foot left. People tend to think, well, after the incident, the person hid the weapon or didn't call the police or tried to cover up for the conduct. You can still understand the world around you, but in the moment, the psychosis overtakes your ability to understand the difference between right and wrong as we perceive it, and in a civilized society. You lose the ability to understand the character and quality of your conduct because you believe that there is, for instance, in this case, a necessity. She had to take the lives of the kids and take them with her because she was undergoing this psychotic break, the psychotic moment. It doesn't mean that she's going to try to use a banana to kill them. Of course, she's going to use a ligature. That does not make her. It does not make her normal, for lack of a better word or phrase, in terms of her mental health. She could still be completely in the clutches of a psychotic break.
So let's be honest with each other. Lindsay Clancy has been in a mental institution since her incarceration. So she has been living in a mental health prison, jail, whatever you want. It's a lockup. I've been to them hundreds of times. They're not nice. They're not clean. They're not fun. They're if anybody here has been in a facility like that, you know, I have been in there on a professional level with patients, with people who I had to bring to said location. It's not a nice place, and it's just like being in jail, just a little bit different. But there's bars and there's doors where you can't get out. The windows are barred up, and it's not a really great place to be. So for those of you who have been in the chat, let us know if you want to share that. But Lindsay Clancy has been there since this incident occurred, since she was taken into custody.
And I thought Kevin did a really nice job, along with his experts, of diffusing the prosecution's experts. There's nothing their experts could say, nothing they could say about the fact that she was reaching out over and over and over, attempting to get help. There's nothing they could do about that.
I mean, how bad was that expert, Dr. Avram Mack, who just seemed...
I heard a lot of talk about him, but candidly, I didn't see his testimony.
Red and he were like this. Absolute hatred of this. The YouTube clips of the two of them going back and forth, unbelievable. He can't stand it.
What was Mack's thesis?
He's a forensic psychiatrist who he just seemed to want to fight with Reddington every single step of the way. But
that should be unassailable. If they're fighting, to know why that was, but the judge gently and respectfully declined to give that instruction, although, and I'm extraordinarily familiar with it.
If a proper investigation was done.
I did see yesterday that, interesting to that point, it's actually a very good question. I saw yesterday that Reddington asked for a Bowden instruction, and I'm extraordinarily familiar with a Bowden instruction because we got one in Karen's case because of the failure of the investigation. He did not get one, which I was interested in. I didn't watch enough of the trial to know why that was, but the judge gently and respectfully declined to give that instruction, although Kevin asked for it. So there must have been some suggestion that the case was very, very poorly investigated. When he was arguing for the Bowden instruction yesterday, Kevin said, and I didn't hear him emphasize it as much today, but he said there was failure after failure after failure after failure. These cops walked in, they see 3 dead kids, they see a woman sitting outside. The husband says she said she did it. Case closed, like done.
Case closed.
But they didn't...
he said to them, he pointed to them in the courtroom, shame.
Right.
By the way, when Ed Wallace returns from outside the country, him and I are going to do a deep dive into the actual investigation, the crime scene. We didn't get a chance to go over that, but we are going to go over the investigation aspect. Ed, I asked him to look at it with a fine-tooth comb. He promised me that he would take a good hard look at the Lindsay Clancy investigation. Whatever documents that are available publicly, we'll go over and we'll do a live stream. Maybe we'll do a members only and then a public live stream. But it's something that I want him to go through because I value his knowledge and his experience and expertise. And if Ed makes a statement or deems that that investigation was less than adequate, then, I feel that that's gospel, because Ed is an expert, has processed over 2,700 crime scenes in his career. And I think that would be something that people would be interested in hearing about. And we'll do a deep dive on it. Let us know in your comments and in the live chat if that's something you'd be interested in.
Right. So, I think to answer the question, similar to Karen's case, I think that does have an impact. Jurors expect, they damn well should expect a level of perfection when it comes to homicide cases, especially. I mean, these are life and death cases. These are the gravity doesn't get any greater than a homicide case. And if you're going, as the state, if you're going to take the position that we as a government are going to take the most precious thing we have as a citizen, which is our liberty, we're going to take that away for the rest of your life, you damn well better get it right. And I don't mean just right. You better get it perfect. And so if you don't, that should weigh very, very heavily on any jury who's weighing and balancing the value of the prosecution that's in front of them.
And that's another referendum. I mean, as your case revealed, with Karen Reed.
Yeah.
This
I think policing at large, I'm probably not. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm probably not the right person to ask, but I think prosecutions and investigations writ large in the Massachusetts area. He's protected this young lady in a way that she deserves.
All right. Well, we'll be there. We'll be there with you for sure.
Thanks, man.
Any final thoughts here on as we
No,
take a look at this? What are you feeling right now? If you are Kevin Reddington, what do you feel? There, the chairs are empty. They've gone. They're deliberating.
What he's probably thinking right now is he's done everything that he can possibly do. He's met the challenge. He's protected this young lady in a way that she deserved to be protected. He's fought very hard for her. I don't believe that the prosecution has met their burden, nowhere close to their burden. There's no question about what happened. It's why it happened. And the prosecution has a very high burden to get into the mind of Lindsay Clancy and to prove that she wanted to and did deliberately and with premeditation murder those 3 children for no other reason than she just felt like it that day. Just felt like it. That is a very, very hard pill to swallow. It's going to be a hard pill to swallow for the jurors. They are going to, I believe, they're going to gravitate toward Kevin's point, which is nobody would do this if they were not in the clutches of a psychotic break. Nobody would do this. There's no indication whatsoever that she had anything except deep, abiding love for those 3 little kids. And she mourns their loss.
Well, I respect and appreciate Alan Jackson's take. Everybody has one, but I don't agree wholeheartedly that she had a deep, abiding love for those children because she murdered them. So to me, I mean, again, his take on what went down today with the prosecution and the defense resting and having their having this case go to the jury for deliberations. I thought it was interesting to listen to this. If you're not yet subscribed over at Billy Bush's channel, please, I'll link it in the description. Go over there and subscribe to Hot Mics with Billy Bush. That was a great interview. And I think that we all learned a little bit something from Mr. Alan Jackson. He's got a lot of experience. And again, nothing but respect for him. But it's a hard pill for me to swallow. Yeah, Uncle Gus says, a deep, abiding love. Now I've heard everything. Here's one other thing I want you guys to hear. This was day before yesterday, Kevin Reddington outside of court. And when Brian Enton asks him a question, and other attorneys ask him a question about his client, I want you to hear what he said. I know most of you heard this, but I was a little taken back by it. I mean, I think, the defense attorneys get attached to their clients, but not in the sense of saying out loud that I love my client. I love her. She's a loving parent. She's a loving young girl. It was a little weird for me. Let me know what you think. If I'm off base, I'm off base.
Hi. Mr. Reddington, is the misdemeanor possibility now, is that a good thing for the defense?
There's no
I'm
misdemeanor.
sorry, not misdemeanor, manslaughter. I'm sorry.
It gives the jury another option, and it's certainly a positive development from our point of view. Yeah.
Are you concerned though that if they were maybe going to go not guilty, they may now choose manslaughter?
Got to cover the record.
What are the ways that a jury could convict her if they do? What are the different ways they could do that?
So tomorrow you'll hear the judge go through the instructions for first degree, second degree manslaughter, and of course acquittal. And those are the ways that they can convict her.
I'm confused about what Lindsay.
I'm sorry?
Voluntary or involuntary manslaughter?
It would be manslaughter. In Massachusetts, it doesn't really make a difference. They're both the same, pretty much.
Best thing for women's health ever.
Thank you.
Ever.
Appreciate it.
I asked you this morning, Mr. Reddington, what you hope to convey in the closing. You didn't really have an answer. Do you want
No,
to
I don't.
what you hope to convey?
Well, I hope to convey that I truly, care and love. I love her. She's just such a marvelous, sweet, innocent person. She's just amazing and so strong and just trying so hard to get up from, she's just been beat down for 3.5 years and she feels that she's had a fair trial with the judge. And
Okay, so that, again, I'll leave you guys with that. You guys let me know what you think of that. No shame to him. is a great defense attorney. He represented Lindsay Clancy the best that he could. He's unbelievable. I've never seen him before. This is my first experience watching him. He did a great job. Red really fought like a bulldog for her. But that statement right there, that statement for me was, I was just like, what? I don't know. Some people thought it was a lovely statement and thought it was beautiful and nice, but I mean, that's not how I would be. That's not me personally how I would describe Lindsay Clancy.
Just trying so hard to care and love. No, I don't. Well, I hope to convey that I really, care and love. I love her. She's just such a.
I love her.
Marvelous, sweet, innocent person. She's just amazing and so strong and just trying so hard to get up from. She's just been beat down for 3.5 years. And
all right, I'm going to leave you guys with that. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sorry about today and what happened. I'm still having problems with my back, and my cancer journey is still ongoing. I'm going for scanning and testing on September 3rd. I'm asking you guys to pray for me for a positive result on my scans. It's been a rough summer. It's been a rough 20 plus months since, gosh, October of 2004. I can't even believe I'm saying that. So it's been a rough go since 2004 for me, and 2024. I wish that I could tell you better news, but I'm not feeling great. I'm trying to do the best I can with exercise and diet and strength conditioning of my core. My cancer doctor and my pain management says I got to strengthen up my core so my back doesn't hurt as much. So I'm doing all kinds of exercises and crazy stuff with exercise bands and all these different exercises and stuff. You guys have no idea. I'm even riding e-bikes like a madman. I'm doing that. Makes my back feel better, believe it or not. So thank you so much for being here. Let's keep an eye out for Lindsay Clancy verdict watch. Day 2 will be tomorrow. I'll keep an eye on it. If the verdict comes in, we'll go live and we'll let you guys know what we think. So peace and love from Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. Sending you all strength, prayers, and positive vibes from my house to yours. Thank you for watching, and God bless.